What's up, guys? This is Saiyan here, coming at you with another deck profile. This time we had a little bit of a game, I suppose, on our Facebook group, and I've asked the guys to name one card that they would like to see a deck built around. And well, the first request was Kami's Shrine, so I've built a deck around it. Let's have a look at it. Okay, so ladies and gents, first things first, let's look at the card itself that has been designated for this. Well, I suppose we can call this a challenge kind of thing. And we have Kami's Shrine. Now, Kami's Shrine is a turn 7 card, so you're not going to play it at any time soon in the game, that's for sure. But once you do get to play it, it actually is a fairly good card. You do require 2 unique chi to be able to play it, and a Kami characteristic warrior to be able to be actually the user of this technique. And then in the strategy, either yours or your opponent's, whether you're attacker or defender, doesn't matter, you can discard one of your planet damage at random. Excellent stuff. So basically what this card allows us to do is to hopefully stretch the game out a little bit, depending on obviously how much chi we have. If we can play the card, we can certainly get rid of one of our planet damage. So basically what I've built is a fairly heavy control deck, I would say, that really looks at, well, there's 2 ways how you can lose the game. You either take 10 planet damage or you deck out. So we'll see what we can do for any of these 2 things to obviously try and prevent it from happening, and how we can get to that. So, Kami Shrine, we're obviously going to need some cards with Kami characteristics, and some of you might think, oh, this is the deck he's finally going to be talking about Saiyan. No, no, I'm not at all. We have 2 cards that can pop off Kami Shrine. One of them will be Bandai, which is, we got a few super symbol Namekians. We have 1 Dende, and actually we have 3 Piccolos that come down with a super symbol, but 2 of those Piccolos are, they both have the Kami characteristic. We have chosen one particular one because I was trying to push this deck a little bit towards running Earth. Obviously, kind of like the theme of the deck is some of Earth's best warriors get together to try and defend it with the help of Kami from the devastating planet damage, and you know, be able to endure all the attack of the villains. So we got 2 Dandays, which is obviously a turn 1 card. It really just comes down, it will put a Dragon Ball coin on itself most of the time. Sometimes it might put a Dragon Ball coin on a different super symbol warrior. Usually it's going to be himself. Sometimes it will be not himself, maybe Trunks. We do run Trunks here as well. The other avenue to run out Kami's Shrine is with the use of the set 3 Piccolos. Yeah, I think these are set 3 Piccolos. Maybe set 4? 3 or 4. Either way, this Piccolo has the Kami characteristic, and it also has the name Kami, so it really makes it difficult to run Saiyan, because obviously Saiyan has name Kami as well. We can't run, obviously we can't have him play 2 Kamis at the same time with the name. With the characteristic, you can, because that's a character that's like having Saiyan or having Namekian, but if you have the name Kami, you can't have Piccolo down, and you can't have a Saiyan down, because obviously at this point Piccolo has fused with Kami, not only Nail even. So this one actually is the best support Piccolos in the game, although I do prefer to run the set 5 Piccolo in most cases. In this deck, I wanted a Piccolo that was super, and this guy just completely fits the bill because we are running 3 Orales, and Orale can only be put into teams with super and or Earth symbol, so you can still get Piccolo to support Orale, because if I would run the set 5 Piccolo, I couldn't do that set 5 Piccolo counts both as a unique and a super warrior. You can't put it into the same team with Arale. It's actually not a bad thing because, you know, this Piccolo is actually more flexible in terms of he's a really good attacker, really good defender, and still so really good attacker, really good supporter, and still an amazing supporter when he gets injured. So we're on 3 Arale, and obviously Arale is like our I don't know. Arale is like our Black Widow, while she battles against a warrior with a turn cost of 2 or less that has unique or villain symbol. She gets +1/+0. She also has backup, which is really sweet, but also, you know, you have to make sure she can only be in a team with an Earth and or super symbol warrior, which is cool so far. Both of our Akamis can support Arale, so that's fairly good start. She also has wicked stats that 3110 is great. She's also female, she's a robot, so the Ranfan stuff doesn't work on her, the Zanga stuff doesn't work on her. Actually, doesn't work on any of these guys, to be fair, so that's already a great start. Now, of course, we're not going to wait till turn 6 to get Piccolo out. We will accelerate into that Piccolo with the use of 3 Piccolo Juniors that allows us to evolve into this Piccolo on turn 4. Amazing. It's basically a free drop on turn 4. What you will find is that we also have quite a few, like 1-of, 2-of cards in this deck, because we are recirculating quite a lot with Old Kai predominantly, and we're also running 2 Journey of Adventure. So both these cards allow us to put cards back at the bottom of our planet from our discard. Now, if you have 1 of each out, or you can have obviously 1 Old Kai out at any one time, but you can technically pull off getting both Journey of Adventures out. Don't forget that these cards work in both your and your opponent's strategy phase, so 1 of these cards will recycle a card every single turn, but you have to remember to use it, obviously. So there you go. So that's pretty much for the deck out. I think that's pretty much sorted here. What are we going to do if our opponent has some event removals? Well, as I said, we're running a fairly control-heavy lineup. So we are running 3 expanding vibrations, and that will stop pretty much all the event removal techniques. It will stop burning attack, it will stop shockwave, it will stop expanding vibration, exploding the weak, it will stop katana slice, because pretty much all the event removal techniques are turn cost 4 or below. The only thing it, obviously expanding vibration doesn't stop is the 0 cost, what's her name? Come on. The 0 cost, gosh, this is embarrassing. I really should know her name by now. Launch. Yeah, the 0 cost launch, or of course our good old Turtles Lackey, Daizu. So those 2 will still be able to remove Journey of Adventure, but as a backup we still have Old Kai, and with Old Kai we can get Journey of Adventure back into the deck, eventually draw it up again, so you know, it's just an ongoing thing. As you can see, we are quite heavy on the Namekians. We have obviously Piccolo Jr., we have Dende coming down turn 0, turn 1 also. We will evolve our Piccolo Jr. into a much more heavy hitting Piccolo on turn 4, so we are also running 3 Arm Stretch. Arm Stretch, as you guys know, it is definitely one of my favorite techniques. It is absolutely brilliant if you're running Namekians and you're running Old Kai, and we have ticked both of those boxes basically with either Old Kai or Journey of Adventure down. Every turn we use an Arm Stretch with a Namekian warrior, we're going to be able to search our deck for another one, replenish our hands. So basically every turn we can have an Arm Stretch ready to go. And Arm Stretch is really powerful. You can use it in action strategy. Whether you're an attacker or defender, doesn't matter. It only costs 1 G, so it's essentially free. in this game, because every time you play a technique that goes into your chi, so the one chi you spent, you get that technique down. All it happens is you lose it obviously from your hand, but this one will search your deck for another one, so actually it's basically completely free, and you can do that lovely little recirculation, which just makes it a little bit broken. And of course what it does is it will negate target warrior's effect text and special abilities until end of turn. And the target's power cannot be changed this turn. So what you do with arm stretch is you obviously will most of the time use it on the chain. So your opponent plays Powerful Heritage. His or her Saiyan gets +5/+0, where you chain arm stretch on it, and not only will that warrior lose if it has super heal, if it has toughness, whatever other stuff it has. If you look at this Vegeta, for example, it completely wipes clear this card. So it takes all the special abilities away, it takes all the effect text away, and you also can't change the power of that particular card. So it's extremely powerful for only one measly chi. I mean, just this card on its own makes it worthwhile to run the Namekians in any deck, to be quite honest. So it's an amazing card. It basically works as a secondary counter. It might even be better than Expanding Vibration in a lot of situations, particularly if you come against a pump heavy deck. This is just going to completely shut them down in a very chi efficient way. So already you can see we are fairly control heavy here. On top of that, we do have 2 regeneration of lost limbs. It is good to have heal cards in the deck, but particularly the draw 2 cards, if it's a Namekian using it, there's no requirement for the warrior using this card in particular to be in injured status. So if you just basically use it with a Namekian, even if that Namekian isn't injured, it doesn't matter, you still draw 2 cards. So, you know, if you really want to circulate your hands, if you're really looking for something, you know, this is the card to go with. It's just, it's great. And then finally, we have 3 Hyper Tornadoes, which might look a little bit overkill, and you know it probably is, but it really does help with our chi situation. It's both unique and super. We do really need to balance our chi because we're in a sense running 3 colors here. We're running Earth, Super, and Unique. So I really paid, you know, quite a lot of attention in trying to balance the chi out as much as I could. It probably could do with more improvements, of course, but this is, I think, a fairly good husk to start with. So Hyper Tornado is really good on its own. Again, putting that Dragon Ball coin comes into play with this technique. Obviously, we will require a Dragon Ball coin for Hyper Tornado on the warrior that's using this technique. We put target warrior your opponent controls basically cannot add its power to its team power and cannot be the user of techniques until the end of turn. Again, what you want to do with Hyper Tornado is play it on the chain. When your opponent plays a technique, you then play Hyper Tornado, and in a sense that warrior won't be able to use that technique anymore, so your opponent wasted their chi. On top of that, if we use this technique with Pycon, and we do run 1 Pycon in the deck, then that warrior will be put back on the top of its owner's planet at the end of turn. And particularly against fusion warriors can obviously be quite a big problem for this deck. Our main technique is a 7 turn cost, and also all the great fusion warriors, the Vegito, the Gogeta, they will come down turn 7. With Hyper Tornado, we are able to send them back. Well, basically can remove them from the game at the end of the turn, which is just the bomb. So we definitely need Hyper Tornado if we want to be very control heavy. Again, I haven't tested this deck yet. 3 Hyper Tornado, maybe a little bit overkill. Could possibly run something else like a Special Beam Cannon could be useful, particularly if we are running Piccolo, but you know, I have to do a little bit more testing. And I basically ran through all the techniques before I run through the warriors, but I wanted to show the control element of the deck and why we run the cards we run. So we got till turn 1 because we got 3 Raleigh, 3 Piccolo Juniors, 2 Old Kai, 2 Dende, and 2 Piccolo. We also have 2 Chaozu. Chaozu is really good in the sense that he's got the right symbols. Earth and Super, again, as I said, both are very important in his deck. He has backup, which is amazing, and he's got a really good support value, especially when he's in, obviously, healthy status. But even if injured, he's a 0-2, which is really good for a 2-cost card, actually. But you can also blow him up, and he can give 1 damage to target warrior with a turn cost of 3 or less. So that can be really good, maybe just finishing off somebody, or maybe just, radically reducing the power of one warrior that might be out in the game. And maybe killing a Zunama, your opponent then needs to remove a Dragon Ball, so you got a lot of shenanigans you can pull with Chaozu. We have 1 Goten, because as I said, we are running Trunks, and I suppose to go into the whole Kami Shrine tech, while I think it's worthwhile to beef that up a little bit and run the arguably probably one of the best super rares in the game, in all fairness. This guy can seriously extend your game if you're running him. Of course, you need to ensure you get outstanding victories, and for that to happen, your opponent needs to block. So to ensure that, that happens, we need to taunt our opponent out somehow. So we're running 2 Papaya Man, and that's exactly what Papaya Man does. Now, this Oob card is heavily underrated. It's got excellent stats for a 4-drop. The only problem is with beefy Earth Warriors is they always cost a chi, and that is a problem. Especially in this deck, you might be running a little bit short on Earth. So we have a few more Earth Warriors to make up for that. We have 2 Journey of Adventure, as you can see. Yeah, Papaya Man is absolutely brilliant a card. It just allows you to taunt your opponent out as an attacker. You pay that 1 Earth Chi, and you say, okay, well, you need to send that warrior out this turn to defend, if possible. And what's great about that will basically taunt out a whole team. Obviously, you can't just strip a warrior out when you're defending. You can't normally rearrange your teams, so that will taunt out basically a whole team to defend. In that fact, you can bring out some measly little guy that your opponent's keeping back. That comes out. We get that outstanding victory out with. We completely rip our planet damage apart, discard 1 card from it, then we can Kami Shrine and get another card out of it, and then we recycle them back into our deck. How good is that? Exactly. Pretty amazing. Again, I skipped turn 3 because we basically run, as I said, we have some redundancy and we have a lot of recurrence in this deck. So Goten will help us to search out Trunks, and these 2 guys together are a team power of 10 already, which is pretty sweet. You then get a Piccolo behind them, there are 14, a Chaozu 13, or the 2 Mutaitos. Those will also make him a 13. Papaya Man is really good, both with attack and defense, as I said. So you got a lot of cards here that actually are really good in being lead warriors or supporters as well, realistically, depending from the situation that you're in. Mutaito, another really good Earth Warrior. First of all, he's Hermit style, and I mentioned him in my previous deck when we were looking at the, I believe it was Gohan Heal 2.0. Again, another probably underrated card in my opinion. He's got very solid stats for a 3-drop. And he also has the ability that when he's sent to your chi area due to showdown damage, you can give 1 damage to warrior that your opponent controls with a turn cost of 3 or less. So he's basically does very similarly as Chaozu. Of course, Chaozu is discarded and you trigger that, whereas Mutaito is triggered by your opponent, but basically the effect is the same. You get to give 1 warrior your opponent controls 1 damage that warrior has a turn cost of 3 or less. And what's great about it is it doesn't have to be opposing. So again, if your opponent's keeping back somebody, you can actually snipe them out with these 2 cards. Probably would be worthwhile potentially to run some burning attacks in this deck as well with Trunks, but in terms of colors, it may or may not be quite viable. But certainly there is a lot to be said for decreasing the turn cost value of one of your opponent's warriors and just getting in a good little damage. You can perhaps drop maybe 1 Hyper Tornado, 1 Expanding Vibration, and run 2 burning attacks. I'm probably gonna do testing with this setup and that as well to see where I end up. So okay, we got turn 2 covered, turn 3 covered. Turn 4 we got 2 Papaya Mans, and we also have 1 Pycon, as I mentioned before. Pycon is just, again, very flexible card. He's mostly an attacker, but with the amount of backup redundancy we have in this deck, that is actually quite welcome. We only have a few cards that are straight up attackers. Even Trunks is a very solid supporter with a 3 support value, as long as he's in healthy status. Another important thing, of course, definitely running Regeneration of Lost Limbs. If you lose Trunks, if he gets a damage, you can't pull off the effect anymore. But when you heal him, he has super heal, will come back as an 8/4, and you can use the ability again. So again, really cool little interaction there, particularly if you're recycling these cards back into your deck. That's just amazing. So Pycon as backup, which is amazing. If you obviously charge him into your chi, you can still get him into your hand. He also taxes your opponent if your opponent doesn't use any technique cards, which they actually might decide not to do with the amount of control we have in this deck. Then they must either pay a chi or discard a card from their hand at the end of their turn. So that's cool. I really like that. And of course, he's able to send a warrior back to the top of our opponent's deck with Hyper Tornado. And finally, we run 2 Gohan and we run 1 Great Saiyan, and obviously he's another excellent Earth superhero that we really like to see here. Again, just super solid stats, but even him, he costs 1 Earth Chi. So all the Earth guys we run, Mutaito, Gohan, and Papaya Man, they all cost you a Chi, which is a bit rubbish. Only Raleigh doesn't cost us a Chi, thank God. Imagine 0 drops that would cost you a Chi. I don't really think they've ever gone down that route, but it would probably break the game. It would just be way too overpowered. Anyway, Gohan, again, great stuff. Super good supporter, excellent attacker if damaged, of course, if injured. All the Gohan injured stats are just amazing. And then Great Saiyaman, of course, this is a strictly better Great Saiyaman than the Super Rare from set 3, only because if we run Old Kai and we run Journey of Adventure, we actually don't need the other Great Saiyaman's ability to put 2 cards back from our discard to the deck. We already have enough redundancy of that. Whereas if this guy, similarly to Arale, if it battles against an alien, villain, or unique warrior, he gets +1/+0 and Thresh 1 on top of his super heal, on top of his toughness. Again, if for any reason he gets injured, he goes into Berserk mode with a 7/7/0. That's just amazing. He still keeps the ability, it's valid, and we can also heal him with regeneration. Then he comes back as a bloody 6/5. I mean, come on, guys, this is just amazing. We have so much redundancy with a lot of these cards. We probably are a little bit short on early game setup, which is something I normally like to have a little bit more of. You know, we're not running any 1 drops that we're not running any Yamcha to search out for any females. We're not running any 1 drops with backup like Kogu. But this is a very different take, I suppose, and we are focusing on Kami's Shrine, trying to make that viable. And on a final thought, you know, if you really want to run Kami's Shrine and you want to save yourself all this trouble, just run Bashashan. Peace.